Morning, Mark. Welcome to QPR. What makes you think you can succeed here when so many other managers in the last 5-6 years have failed?
I never refer to other managers. Everyone comes in with the best intentions, I'm sure, and their level of knowledge and expertise. So from my point of view, it was me speaking to the owners and to Les, etc., and Lee Hughes, and hearing their plans for the club, understanding where they see the club being in 2, 3, 5 years' time, the vision, the foundations they're building, and how I can hopefully play my role in reaching that vision. So for me, it was to get a really good feeling, and knowing that I've had experience from clubs in similar situations before, Brentford, etc., having to build, having to play young, having to use the academy, which is so well run here, and use your connections in the game, and hopefully introduce a style of play which the fans enjoy and entertain them. That's the main plan.
What do you think went so well for you in the interview? What convinced Tony, Les, Lee that you were the right man to take the club forward, do you feel?
I think, again, I refer to every manager, every coach, you go into interview and you're honest. I think you have to speak your mind, you have to talk truly about how you see the game, how you think you can impact that club. And if the two parties align, then fantastic, but very often they don't work out, and that's the right thing to do. Honesty is always the best policy, so we had good conversations. I liked what I heard about the bigger picture for the club. The financial situation is well documented. Their plans about stability and moving the club forward were good to hear, and were very impressive. So from my point of view, it was a really enjoyable meeting, and hopefully it worked both ways.
Do you feel that you're now fully aware, fully abreast of the financial situation at the club? I mean, you'll clearly be operating on a slightly lower budget than managers in recent seasons.
No, absolutely, but the club have had problems in recent seasons, and again, well documented. So the job of the board and the owners is to make sure the club's on a sound financial footing. And my job, I ask the right questions. I know exactly what we can and can't do, what we have to do in terms of players in the season ahead, and how we can build the squad. So hopefully, the clarity is there for me. Now we have to go and do our job.
Can the aim, though, realistically, next season, given the amount of money being spent by other clubs and will be spent in other clubs in this division, can it really realistically be anything beyond survival?
I think you never ever say to a squad of players anything that would cause them to accept average. Our job is to go in and be the best we can be. And again, there'll be 24 teams come and start the season talking about being the fittest, the strongest, best they can be. But it's about actions rather than words. You have to work with your squad. You have to create an environment here, which is the best it can be, which is conducive to them players developing and learning the game. So that's our point. That's my job. That's the job of John Eustace and Neil Vanfield and the rest of the staff here. So hopefully very much we can create that environment. Hopefully the players can respond, and then take each game one at a time. That's all you can do. Take one game at a time in what is a well-known tough division, a challenging division, and try and meet those demands.
The club's been quite ruthless in releasing players, some of them with 2, 3, 4 years under their belt at the club. How heavily were you involved in that process?
I've been here a matter of days, but obviously I know many of the players. But again, we understand the financial situation, and we understand what we need to do as a club to give it that firm foundation. And some tough decisions have had to be made and will have to be made going forward. But it's all for the good of the club, and I think that's a clear message that has to go out to the supporters and to the players as well, and the staff, that we're doing the right thing by the club for the long-term health and welfare of QPR. So hopefully the plans work out, and we can get young players, we can work with the players we have here, use the market wisely as we can, as every club will say the same, and see where that takes us.
You mentioned using the market wisely. Do you think there'll be much scope for wriggle room in terms of recruitment? Do you think you'll be active?
We'll be active. We'll be looking at players, young and old, in terms of experience. You have to have maturity, seniority, experience of this really tough division. But at the same time, you want youthful energy and hunger and desire and passion as well. So if we can get that balance right, we're in a good place. But again, every club will be vying for exactly the same. But there's some good players out there, some good young players out there who will benefit from coming and playing at a club like QPR and getting that experience. And some good senior names who can add their maturity and game knowledge to what is a young squad of players. So again, get the balance right and see where we are.
Did you see much of QPR last season? Can you see areas where you feel you can make an improvement?
Yeah, I think every manager has his views and ideas, but you're never ever critical of a previous manager or coach. That's not the right thing. Everyone comes in with the best intentions. Everyone's got their own ideas and knowledge of the game. So I know how I want the club to play. I know how I want the players to react, how they want to work and train every single day. I know the intensity I must have from training, and my job is to make sure that's implemented and enjoyed by the players.
You've retained John Eustace, you've added Neil Banfield to the staff. Will you do anything more in terms of adding to your backroom staff?
Yeah, you look at what's here. Obviously, the worst mistake I think you can make is in any business is to walk in and make immediate change without giving the staff a fair crack to show how good they can be. I'm sure there's many, many good staff here, so I'm looking forward to working with them. John was a player that I tried to sign at Glasgow Rangers, and unfortunately his injury situation never really recovered properly. But I know all about John's standards, how his views on the game rather. And Neil Banfield is a guy that I've known for a long time. 22 years of experience at Arsenal, working at the very highest level. 10 years, I think the last 8, 9, 10 years with Arsene Wenger in the first team. So he knows what world class is, he knows what young developing players, what it takes to get them to the top level. So hopefully he'll play a really key role in the season ahead.
You've got a bit of a childhood connection with QPR, I think you touched on it last week. Can you tell us a bit more about that, if you wouldn't mind?
My best friend at school was a guy called Neil McClintock. And Neil's dad was Frank, the famous Arsenal double captain who came to QPR. So as a young 15-year-old, I was very fortunate. Every half term, Frank would take me to watch them train at, I believe it was Roehampton, the Bank of England ground, and watch Dave Sexton work, which was a privilege for a young football fan. But I watched every home game in that famous season. So that team, you can reel off that team, and it's just a privilege. Starstruck on a Christmas morning, seeing Stan Bowles and Jerry Francis and Don Masson and Dave Thomas and you name them, they're all there. So a privilege, and the love of the game was really enhanced by that, and watching that team play and watching Dave Sexton work. So a very enjoyable period.
So QPR fans are kind of clinging to their history more than ever recently. What can you say to them, any that might be disillusioned from recent years? Can you give them any hope for optimism in the next year or two?
Yeah, we have to. I hope very much their passion for the club is still very strong, and they can see the work done, and the statements coming out from the club. The players we bring in, our actions, our news reports, etc., have to be positive about QPR and give more information to the supporters. This is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, this is what we hope to achieve. And if you can do that and give them more clarity about their club, they feel more involved. You know, it galls me sometimes when I hear people talk about less information to the fans. It's their club. Tell them what's going on, not giving them transfer targets or systems of play, but let them enjoy supporting their club. So our job has to be to play a role in that, and hopefully that flow of information will be stronger and clearer for them going forward.
Just in regards to building forward, obviously people talk about having long-term plans and medium-term plans. What are the immediate plans that have to be put in place from your point of view, say a 12-month structure, in order for you to then push forward with this football? What's the short and then medium-term objective on?
I love the fact you're saying 12 months. I think the average tenure of a manager is 9, isn't it? So I think that's really optimistic. No, I think you look at many things. You come in straight away pre-season, and you look at the pre-season programme. What do you have planned? Give the players clarity on that for when they return. Looking at the squad, obviously, contractual situation of players, the young players. Speaking to Chris Ramsey's done a magnificent job with the academy about who's ready, who will be ready as the season progresses, who will benefit from a loan, etc. So going through each individual player, and you have to treat every player appropriately. You can't say, I'll look at those guys later. They're all part of the club, and you have to treat them in the right manner, using the transfer market wisely, the loan market wisely, and then looking ahead to what we want to achieve in terms of implementing a style of play. How do you do that? The structured programmes of work, the introduction to the style of play, and the environment around the players. I mentioned earlier, get the environment right. You know, they come here every day for work. Loftus Road is great, but most times you go there once every 2 weeks or so. This is where they come to work every single day, so make this the best it can possibly be. Food, pitches, schedule of work, etc. They have to enjoy coming to work. And like anyone, whatever business, if you're a bricklayer, you're a cab driver, whatever you're doing, enjoy going to work. So we have to make sure the players enjoy coming here every single day. Challenge them every day. Leave here every day feeling like they've actually done a job of work. And that's the job of myself and the staff and everyone involved with QPR.
And you obviously very experienced with the Championship, you know the Championship pretty well, so therefore to prepare for a Championship season, what the rigours of that, you know, you blend of a squad that you need to put together, you know what you need, you know, you can't have, I suppose, all of one type of play.
Absolutely right. As I mentioned earlier, the balance is a key word. I think you need players who have the seniority, the maturity, the physicality to deal with this really demanding league. Everyone talks about the Championship, but you just watched the game last night, you see what's involved in that, in this quality of fixture. So what we have to do is make sure we get that balance right. You want the young players who are hungry, desperate to learn, desperate to push on, and that real youthful exuberance, that goes without saying, but they have to be mentored by smart, experienced, clever players, because it takes it in this division. It demands of you, and the moment the standards slip, you know, you're in trouble. And what you'll find, invariably, human nature, 24 teams come back in July and say, we're going to go for it. But by November, you watch a third of the team step away and standards start to drop and timekeeping differs and etc. So you have to maintain a level of standard, a level of quality every single day of the season. Enjoy your summer break because you're going to work hard again come June the 20, whatever it may be.
Are you excited?
Yeah, absolutely, because I really enjoyed the meetings with the owners and chatting to Lee and Les, etc., and their plans for the club, and you have to ask the right questions and you get the right answers back as well. So going to the earlier question, they were really beneficial meetings. I think they're enjoyable meetings, and we know what we have to do now to take the club forward. But as I say, it's every club we say is exactly the same. Actions will always be louder than words. So.